Hello, everybody, and welcome. Jonathan, you have an incredible background. Looks like you're presenting from the metaverse. This feels much more prosaic, what we're doing in comparison, but it's a pleasure to be with you. Good afternoon, and welcome to this fireside chat on the topic crypto unicorn Defi-Ning. See what they did there? Defining the next evolution of DeFi. Today, I'm talking with John Ge, co-founder and CEO of Matrixport, a digital assets financial services platform with over $10 billion in assets under management, where users can invest, trade, and leverage crypto assets. Over the next 20 minutes, we'll be tackling the future of decentralized finance head on. But I will also leave 5 minutes at the end for audience questions. So please do fire away in the questions box on the Huberlo app, and I will put them to John at the very end. So firstly, John, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Lin. Thank you, everyone. Yeah, it's my honor to participate in this conference and share my opinions about DeFi.
Great. So maybe the most helpful thing we can do is start with a definition. So what, to make sure that we don't leave anybody behind in this conversation. So what do we mean when we use the term DeFi? I mean, it now comprises a plethora of mini industries, if you will, right? So I think it's important to start with a definition for our audience. What is DeFi?
Yeah, so by DeFi, I mean the protocols and the smart contract developed by engineers on the blockchain to achieve the financial goals, such as swap, trade, borrow money, or yields. So it's not include the native function of a blockchain like transfer tokens or ERC20 tokens or ERC721 tokens.
Right, so the definition is broadening every day.
Yeah.
And tell us about Matrixport. So can you introduce the mission of your company and the impact that you've made so far for those that might not be aware of Matrixport?
Sure, no problem. So Matrixport is one of the largest crypto banks in this industry. We founded in 2019 and based in Singapore. Yeah, because we believe in that the blockchain will be next generation of a money network, and finally billions of people and 100,000 category of assets will circulate on blockchain. So we want to be the platforms that help users, help people access to the crypto world and provide the one-stop financial service to all these people. So what we have done, we provide a buy, sell service. We provide a yield product, asset management products, structured products. We also provide the custody. And I think one most special of Matrixport is about our innovative financial products. We are always the first one launches this kind of product in this industry, include the dual currency product, flex saving product, includes the CDeFi product, help customer access the DeFi. They don't need to operate as a complex smart contract. So innovation is our gene.
And last summer, Matrixport became a crypto unicorn. Firstly, how did that feel? And secondly, how much further do you think Matrixport can grow over the next couple of years? Is the sky the limit for you guys, given the size of the market you're looking at?
Yeah, sure. At first, it's very exciting, but actually I joined this industry almost 10 years. So before Matrixport, I'm the co-founder of Bitman, the largest miner manufacturer. So it's my second company, still in the early stage. I will not say that I already success in this vision. So yeah, we should continue. And sorry, I forgot your second question.
I was going to say, how much bigger can the company get? I mean, the space is growing seemingly exponentially. Like, where's the limit for Matrixport?
Sure, no problem. Now our AUM is close to 4 billion. And most of AUM is actually from the high net worth individual. So I think it's not a limitation, it's more like a trend. Because nowadays, the main application of crypto is still investment and speculation. So exchange is the main platform for most of users. Then crypto bank, maybe nowadays only 5% of users using crypto banks or asset management platform, but everyone using exchanges. But I think the trend is more and more people are using crypto banks because especially when the crypto become more and more mainstream and we have more categories asset, not only Bitcoin, Ethereum kind of native tokens. We also have a lot of minted token to represent the real asset in the physical world. At that day, everyone has the crypto asset. Then the bank service will be more important than the exchange. I think it will happen in 5 years. So after 5 years, crypto banks will be the majority.
Mm-hmm. Well, that would be a massive tipping point, wouldn't it? We can touch upon that a little bit later, like when we're going to get to that tipping point, what the implications of getting to that tipping point as well. But first off, let's start with the most important thing we're here to talk about today, our topic, which is about defining the next evolution of decentralized finance. So let's start there. How will DeFi continue to reshape financial services and the way that we transact, save, and invest over the next 3, 5, 10 years?
Sure. So I think the logic is very similar to the mobile apps. So when mobile applications were designed and developed by several large established big companies, the mobile phone can only making calls, sending message, or play some simple games. But when the ecosystem become open and everyone can participate in the development, we have a lot, right? So it's the same with DeFi, where everyone can, because DeFi is transparent and permissionless, and this too will make it evolve very fast, and its innovation will very strong. I don't know exactly how the DeFi will reshape this, how we trade, how we using financial service, but I think it will be an unstoppable trend.
So, as you say, the potentials are limitless in some ways. What are the potential obstacles to overcome to continue that growth, and influence over the financial system?
Yeah, I think the one thing is that DeFi is not only about how to replace the traditional financial service, it's also about how to expand the areas that are never covered by traditional financial service. So for one example, nowadays we saw some project combines an NFT and DeFi and allows the DeFi holder to obtain loans and passive income. And in contrast, most unfungible asset has never been recognized as a financial asset in traditional bank. So yes, currently NFT is more about the art, about the trend, about the fashion, but it will expand to more categories. And at that day, every asset has a financial right. You will obtain much more from the DeFi rather than the traditional bank. I think this is something that make me very exciting about the future of DeFi.
Obtain more how? By obtain more, do you mean greater yields?
Yes, let's say that for some asset, like you have some membership of a club, you have some membership of a restaurant. If this membership is NFT or tokens, you have the liquidity. Yeah, it will make this NFT more attractive and you will more willing to buy it. And maybe after several years, you are treated as a VIP in this club and you leave this country or leave this area, you just sell it. You may earn money from this. So it will, I will call it a financial right. This is a real asset because you pay for it. But in the traditional finance, it will not be recognized as a financial asset. Your bank will not accept this as a collateral kind of this. But in DeFi, I think it will happen. So more cost to your daily life. It's not only about investment and speculation. Yeah.
Because some analysts are describing, the evolution that you just described as the financialization of everything. And certainly we're, with the explosion of Web3 in the last 6 months, we're starting to see that more and more. And then everything gives you an opportunity to invest through utility NFTs, right? You don't just go to eat at a restaurant anymore. You can be a founding member and invest in a restaurant. There's all these different ways to kind of turn anything into a financial product. What's your take? Do you think this is a trend we're going to see a lot more of, this financialization of everything?
Yeah, exactly. This is exactly what I just mentioned. financialization of everything. So nowadays, most of our assets in our daily life is unfungible. They are assets because you spend a lot of time to invest in this asset. You invest your money, but it's not a financial asset. You can't obtain the liquidity. You can't trade it, swap it, kind of this. But DeFi and the blockchain brings this potential and this opportunity for you, and it will change our daily life. Yeah, it's making me very exciting also. Yeah, for example, when we have one NFTs, right? So you can easily invest in one, and you can share your one NFT to your friends. It's so easy, even you guys are not in the same country, and it becomes it's a collections. It's also a financial assets. But nowadays, one is something that you can only jingle yourself, right?
Well, exactly. Well, usually not by myself, usually with somebody else, but depends what we like to do of an evening. Yes, 100%. I mean, the adaptation of this, I think, is only getting faster and faster, right? Even 2 years ago, the idea of us doing this over Zoom rather than face-to-face would have been alien to us. Now it feels the most normal thing in the world to be doing these over a computer screen. So, as these trends change, as you've described, what consumer needs will these developments create? So obviously Matrixport, was born out of a need for people to manage their DeFi assets, to manage their cryptocurrencies. But this financialization of everything, what developments will this create? What new companies and intermediaries will spring up over the next 3 to 5 years to meet this new trend?
Sure. I will mention one point is about the companies. So nowadays, DeFi is characterized for its security and user experience. Well, no reason is because it's still at the early stage. But another point most of people ignore is about the role of a company in DeFi ecosystems. So nowadays, most of the DeFi projects, they take the responsibility of the protocol development and also the user experience. But in many cases, the principle of design of protocols is contrary to the user experience. So my prediction is there will be a bunch of companies who can take care of the user experience. They build on top of the blockchain, the DeFi protocols. They integrate all these DeFi protocols, and they provide the unified and friendly user experience to the customer, and the customer pay for it. So it makes sense, very similar to why people choose Coinbase, right? The people choose Coinbase because Coinbase is a regulated exchange. They have a legal entity, they have a physical office, and they are very profitable. They are a big company. And when there's an accident happens, people will consider that Coinbase will take this responsibility. So they're willing to pay for it. It's the same use philosophy in DeFi world. People willing to pay for what they need. They don't want, and they also lack the skills to interact with the smart contract directly. It's too complex. And if you want more people enter DeFi world, it's very, very necessary that you provide them a very simple way and get what they need. Not in such kind of complex. If you have operated the smart contract, you will find that it's too complex, even for professional engineers. Yeah.
Right. I think 100% on what you just said. People need simplicity. It needs to be more accessible for it to grow. People also want a brand that they can trust as well, right? So, you mentioned Coinbase for an example. It's just it's becoming a household name. Binance, Coinbase, people know them, so they're willing to put their money in them, whereas a few years ago they weren't. And we're seeing this more and more. Like these brands, like big crypto exchanges, are spending hundreds of millions of dollars on sponsoring sports teams, sports stadia, big concert halls, and so on.
Yeah.
We're going to see more of this? Is them trying to build trust with the mainstream?
Yeah. So, sorry, what's your question?
Is this something we're going to see more of? Do you think, to kind of as DeFi just makes this move towards the mainstream? This is the main obstacle is gaining trust and integrity amongst kind of non-Web3 tech heads?
Yeah, so I think the trend is what I see is a boom of NFTs, metaverse, and it's something that I think maybe everyone knows already. But one thing I think I can mention is some point that we may not know is the rapid development of blockchain and DeFi in some areas that has a very weak local currency, very weak financial infrastructure. So someone told me that close to half population in Turkey are using stable coins. I'm shocked, and I don't know if it's true or not, but it does make sense because stable coin is much better than local currency, right? And it's very, very cheap and easy to access. For the local people, they just need to download a wallet from the internet, then they can receive and transfer. So let's imagine when the stable coin is already well accepted by local people, what will happen in a couple of years when they can obtain the passive income from DeFi protocol. They can obtain the loan. They can trade everything. The blockchain and the DeFi protocols can support their real business. No matter it's a store or sell shoes or it's a restaurant, they can use this to pay salary. So I think it's something that we will find is that in this kind of area, it may develop faster than the area like the US because the infrastructure is good enough. Maybe people consider blockchain as an investment and speculation, but in area where they have weak local currency, weak financial infrastructure, they consider blockchain as a technology to support their business and support their local life. Daily life, yeah. It's some trend will finally happen.
That's really interesting. I mean, whenever I have traveled to Istanbul in the past, certainly everybody wants euros and dollars. They never wanted the Turkish lira. And, wanting stable coins is the 2022 version of that, right? It makes a lot of sense. We're also seeing another example. What you mentioned is El Salvador, last year, a landmark ruling making Bitcoin legal tender, which was a kind of key moment in this kind of march to mainstream of DeFi. What's next? So you mentioned, less stable countries kind of coming on board, adopting it more mainstream. What other kind of landmark moments do you expect to see in this year and beyond?
You mean from the countries? I don't know what's the next.
No, in terms of the evolution and the growth of decentralized finance in general, what do you think is going to be the next big milestones we're going to hit?
Yeah, so I think Salvador is the first one, but definitely will be the last one because a lot of areas they can obtain a lot of benefits from this new technology, much more than the developed countries. So I think they have more incentive to adopt this technology, and local people will obtain more benefits from this new technology. And maybe the newest innovation will also happen in that area. I think this will be the future of blockchain. We cannot always talk about the investment speculation because most of people, they are actually not interested in the investment or they may not have the money to do the investment. So how blockchain matters in their life, right? I think that this answer should be something that this technology should support more, not only investment and speculation. And this is already happening in Turkey. I think that this will be continue to happen in a lot of countries.
Right. I mean, it's closer to home as well in the region, the Philippines, right? With games like that.
Yeah. I think someone told me that Philippines maybe have the most users in the MetaMask.
Yeah. I believe I heard this stat. I'm pretty sure it's true. It's mind-blowing that there are now more people have a crypto wallet in the Philippines than bank accounts because there's so many people unbanked by traditional banks. There are actually more crypto wallets than bank accounts now in the Philippines, which really shows the utility of decentralized finance, as you were just discussing. And maybe another reason why DeFi is growing at a more rapid pace in less developed markets is because of the regulation conversation, which we always have to have when we're talking about DeFi, right? How do you expect the landscape to shift around deregulation?
Yeah, I think regulation is necessary. If we consider blockchain as a technology like internet, it will affect all aspects of our daily life. It's unavoidable and it's necessary to regulate this technology. Yeah, but recently there's some discussion about how to regulate the DeFi, how to regulate the technology. I think this is not I think it's a wrong decision. We should not regulate the protocols, yeah, because it will kill the innovations. We should regulate the companies, because company earn money, right? They provide the service to users, so they should take this responsibility. So I believe that in the future, every crypto company will be well regulated, but the technology is still transparent and permissionless. I hope so. I'm not a regulator, so I can't decide it, but I hope so. Then we will have the future of blockchain.
Yeah, I hope so too. I hope the governments also learn from their mistakes when it comes to regulation of Web 2.0 as well, or the the fact that they kind of were late to the party on the regulation of Web 2.0. So we have almost 4 minutes left. I want to ask at least one audience question if I can. This one here is from an anonymous user who asks, how would banks, being centralized intermediaries, move into the DeFi industry? So how will banks move into DeFi more?
Yeah, it's about the incentive. If they find out that a lot of people want access to DeFi, so let's say a private bank, right? You serve a lot of high net worth individual, and all your customers tell you that they want to buy Bitcoin, and they want to buy some coins, tokens. So it's better for bank to integrate the DeFi protocol rather than they build all by themselves. Because it's like a Lego block, it's easy to integrate into the system, and it's open source, it's transparent. Yeah, but for traditional bank, their speed is quite slow. I prefer that maybe some startup will win this market and provide more to the customer, and the customer maybe transfer their money from traditional bank to new crypto bank, just like Matrixport. Because we are faster mover, we know more, and we take this risk. Yeah.
Of course. And this is why exchanges and intermediaries like Matrixport, the key thing they need to do is build that trust with the user, right? Because JP Morgan already has that trust. They just don't have the knowledge or the agility to move fast in this space. Companies such as yourself do, but people, don't. You haven't been around for 150 years, so people don't trust putting all their wealth in a new company. But they're catching up, right? I mean, JP Morgan launched the world's first bank in the metaverse a couple months ago. They have a bank in Decentraland now. Do you feel them hot on your heels, or do you think it's a long time until they catch up?
I think it will take a long time. Yeah, it's a big company. Big company always take a long time to adapt a new trend. Yeah, so that's why we have opportunity, right? They have the brand, they have the capital, they have everything, but they move slower. Yeah, and for start, yeah, it should be.
Yeah. I'm going to ask one final audience question and then a final wrap-up question for myself. So very, very quickly, what is your take on the purported decentralization illusion by some who strongly think that full decentralization is impossible? That's from another anonymous user.
Yeah, I think the key is not about the fully decentralized or not. I think the key is always about it. It's depend on your target. If you want your technology more close to everyone, it should not something like we call it full decentralized. Full decentralized, you should pay for it. It will be very hard to use. It will be full of a lot of bad things. So I believe that the structure should be something that protocol layer, permissionless, transparent, and also the service layer. Service layer, there's a lot of service providers. They provide centralized and unified service to the customer. And people have the options whether they want to interact the protocol by themselves and more decentralized, or they want the better user experience, and they're willing to pay for it, and they're willing that it will be more centralized and Yeah, I think it's a structure will be something like this, not everything for decentralized, and there's no company, no service provider, and everyone can interact with the protocol, and the society can run itself. I think, it's more like a dream, but it will not be a reality.
John, we're out of time. It's been a real pleasure talking to you. There's so much other ground we could have covered, but I've really enjoyed and learned a lot from what we have been able to cover. So thank you so much for that. We're out of time, but I'm going to leave you with one final question. If you could sum up very, very quickly. Final thought. If our audience remember one thing from this conversation, what should it be?
Yeah, I prefer that you guys can remember Matrixport, the name of our company. Yeah.
I see a great salesman right there and a good place to end. Thank you very much, John Ge.
Thank you, everyone.